Hey, Luke here with CaptainCarp.com, and I'm going to show you some of my favorite fishing rigs. These are great fishing rigs, whether you're fishing on the bottom or the top. If you're a bait fisherman, these are some rigs that you should know.
The first rig I'm going to show you is the breakaway rig. This is the perfect rig for a snaggy bottom river. The hook is kept off the bottom, so it's kept out of the snags, and the line connecting the swivel to the lead is weaker than all the other line, so that if you snag up your lead, you break off the lead and not the whole rig. This is a great rig for fast-moving rivers with lots of rocks. So here I'm going to demonstrate how the rig works. I'm going to simulate snagging up your lead. For this rig to work right, the line connecting your lead should be half the strength of your main line, but strong enough so that your lead doesn't break off during casting. A good rule of thumb is 10 pounds of tensile strength for each ounce of lead. The fish finder rig is the rig I use the most, and it's the rig I use in most situations where I want to fish on the bottom. It's simply a lead that slides upon the main line, a bead, a swivel, a leader, and a hook. You can use flat no-roll inline leads like this. You can use egg sinkers, or you can attach a slider, and then you can put all sorts of types of leads on there. And a slider is good in rivers because then you can adjust the weight depending on the current. Putting a bead above the swivel helps protect the knot and keep the swivel from getting jammed inside the lead, but it isn't always necessary. You can also use a lot of different types of leads and a lot of different types of sliders. I like to fish with large leads with a fish finder rig because the lead acts as an anchor that helps pull the hook point into the fish's mouth as it swims away with your bait, and this improves your hookup ratio. The high-low rig is also called a pickerel rig, or it has a lot of different names, but it's very popular in surf fishing, and crappie fishermen use it a lot as well. The rig has a large weight on the end. It has two wire arms that swivel about, and you have hooks and leaders attached to the wire arms. This is a great rig for keeping your bait away from crabs and out of rocks and above the seaweed. It also works really good in current. Tackle shops sell this rig in all different sizes, and you can buy them pre-made with the hooks or without the hooks. I typically like to use the Eagle Claw pre-snelled hooks with these. Crappie rigs come with the hooks attached, and on smaller versions also work really well. Having two arms and two hooks doubles the amount of bait you can put in the water and allows you to try different baits at the same time, and occasionally allows you to catch two fish at the same time. This is one of my favorite rigs, but its biggest drawback is that it's terrible in snaggy areas. The extra hook flopping around is prone to catch on things, so only use it in places where you're not going to snag up. The live bait rig is a great one in real snaggy areas when you're fishing with live bait. You have a lead that anchors the rig in place, then you have a swivel, and you have your live bait, and then you have a bobber. And this pins your bait in one position and allows it to swim around, but in a limited area. So if you're fishing tight to snags, it's great. And you can see here, I've got a version of it that I've tied up. And the fish can swim around in circles, but you're locking him in at a certain elevation and in a certain location. And you can do this by simply feeding a swivel onto your line and then pinning it between two beads that you've pegged with a round toothpick. You simply slide the toothpick point into the bead as hard as you can, then clip it off, and that keeps it from moving and allows you to still adjust the height as you want. Fishing with a bobber or a float is a powerful but simple technique. You simply suspend your bait under the bobber. If there's current, you can use a little split shot. Otherwise, you can just use a bare line, but it keeps your bait out of the weeds above the snags, and if the fish are not feeding on the bottom, it allows you to suspend the bait right at their level. It's a very powerful technique. Additionally, it's fabulous when you want to stay mobile, like fishing a small river or fishing in current. It allows you to drift your bait through various different spots very quickly and easily, so you can cover a lot of ground and find those fish. There's a million different types of floats and bobbers. There's the spring-loaded type, or there's the type with the bobber stops that you can either tie yourself or you can buy like these ones. And there's a million different makes and models of bobbers, but it's a great technique. Especially combining bobbers with live bait is a great way to catch bass and catfish and pike. The hair rig is a fabulous bait rig that's used all the time over in Europe and in the UK, but virtually unknown here in the US. I use it all the time for lots of different species, but it's used primarily by carp fishermen. and cat fishermen. A hair rig has this little hair on the end, and you put the bait on this piece of string called the hair instead of on the hook point. You can put soft baits that normally fall off the hook super easy, or hard baits that you have to drill. And so it allows you to use baits that normally don't fit on a hook well. You have to have a baiting needle, which you pierce the bait with, then you hook onto the hair, and then you slide the bait from the needle onto the hair. Then you take a thing called a bait stop, a little piece of plastic or a twig or something, and you slip it through the loop on the end of the hair, and this keeps the bait from falling off. There are many advantages to a hair rig. One, it allows you to use baits like boilies or sweet corn or things that fall off the hook or you can't put on a hook easily. But also, it works extremely well with hook-shy fish. Very few fish can detect a hair rig. Additionally, a hair rig greatly improves your hook set. It allows you to hook larger fish with smaller hooks, and it puts the hook point almost always in the bottom lip. Hair rigs are also very strong, so it's hard for small fish and nuisance fish to steal your bait, and it's hard for them to get the hook in their mouth. The Pulley Rig is a British saltwater fishing rig that is awesome for long distance bank fishing. You tie a swivel on the end of your main line, and then the hook and the lead are attached by a piece of line. When casting, you attach the hook to an impact shield above the lead. This keeps the hook and bait from flapping around and getting tangled and creating drag. Then when the rig hits the water, the impact shield ejects the hook, and the hook becomes free, and it fishes very much like a normal helicopter rig. Only you can make the hook as far off the bottom as you want, and you're not as limited by the length of your rod. I'm going to put a link in the description to where you can buy impact shields and other devices like this. But this is what the rig looks like after the hook is ejected. It just looks like a normal helicopter rig. Only you can suspend that hook a lot greater distance away from the lead than you normally could with a normal helicopter rig, and you can cast it much further. So this is what it looks like. This is the impact shield above the lead. This is the hook attached to the impact shield. So this is what it looks like when it casts. And when it hits the water, bam, it kicks out the hook and it's free. So this is the pulley. So this is the big swivel is the part you attach to your main line. And you can see here, it hits the water, ejects the hook, and then the hook fishes just like that. And they call it the pulley rig because, as you can see here, it looks like a pulley. And that pulley system allows you to pull the hook down and connect it to the impact shield. This rig will add many yards to your cast. It is very, very aerodynamic. The Santee-Cooper Rig is a trolling rig. It's designed for dragging bait across the bottom and fishing for big catfish and other bottom feeders. You've got a no-roll, flat inline lead, a bead, a swivel, a leader, a buoyant cork or a float, and then a hook. And it bounces right across the bottom and keeps that hook from getting snagged up. So you can see here, there's the no-roll lead. And this is the float, which is one of the Whisker Seeker rattler floats. You can make them yourself or you can buy them. And you put some leader in between the swivel and the float. And the more leader you add, the higher off the ground it will float and the more snag free it will be. And this gives you an idea of what the rig looks like. The Draggin Tail Rig is an even more snag-free version of the Santee-Cooper Rig. You use a very long rubber lead and a balloon as a float, and this thing can get you over just about any snags, logs, rocks, the works. It's about as snag-free as you can get, and it's once again it's designed for trolling bait across the bottom. Typically you'll troll this thing about 1 mile per hour. On this rig, the balloon keeps the hook out of the snags, and you want the balloon to be about the size of a golf ball, maybe even a little bit smaller. The balloon is important because it'll keep your hook from falling into the snags if you slow down or come to a stop. You can buy these leads at Bottom Dweller Tackle, or if you want, I'll put a link in the description to one of Steve Douglas's videos on how to make this rig and how to make your own leads. Steve Douglas actually has a lot of great videos about dragging and trolling for catfish. The dropper loop rig is ideal for jigging baits vertically, and it is the simplest rig to tie. You don't need any swivels or beads or hardware, just leads and hooks and line. So I use this when out in the ocean, like jigging over shipwrecks or structure, but you can use it in a lot of different situations. Simply take a piece of mono works best for this, do a surgeon's loop on the end of the line, attach your lead, and then tie a dropper loop somewhere in the middle of the line, however far off the bottom you want your hook to be, and then use a cow hitch knot to attach your hook to the loop. And there you go. That is the entire rig. Extremely simple, quick to tie, requires no hardware. Simply drop your rig into the water until you feel the bottom, then bounce it on top of the bottom, and your bait will just be there slightly off the bottom.
Hey, thanks for watching, and I hope you liked this video. If you want to see more videos from the Catfish and Carp YouTube channel, click subscribe. We put out new videos multiple times a week. Thanks for watching.
If you like this video, check out some other videos, including 10 of my favorite fishing knots and 6 best bank fishing hacks. Great ideas for you bank fishermen out there.
Say, click subscribe!